Hello, Canucks fans. Welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation, brought to you by Bet365. Check out Bet365's 3-goal early payout. When your team goes up 3, you get paid. It's that simple. Download the app today. Must be 19 plus. Please play responsibly. My name is Dave Quadrelli. I am joined by Harmon Dial, and we're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studios. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. Harm, speaking of Bet365 and their 3-goal early payout, last night, what was my bet of the day on the show? And you laughed at me. Plus 350 Canucks money line. We took it last night against the Colorado Avalanche. Avalanche were minus 450 favorites heading into that game. Wonkiest odds I'd ever seen. And I took it. And you know what?
Well, hold on a second here. I laughed because it was bold, but I said you're either going to look like a genius or an idiot tomorrow. I didn't poo-poo it and say, "Oh, what a dumb bet." You got to clarify that.
Yeah, but I was the only one that took the bet. Like,
Well, you're the only one who ever takes a bet.
Vancouver media, you don't root for the boys. You don't want to see them succeed. I asked you the other day to give me a good old go Canucks go. You couldn't even do that. So Canucks win. They beat the Avalanche. What a game. What a game it was. In all seriousness, can't believe that hit. Like, honestly, I was watching it and I was texting you guys in the group chat and I was like, this is going to be great. I'm going to be insufferable today. But I'll try not to be. Because in all seriousness, you have to give the Canucks some credit. You know, the rooting for the boys bit aside, you do have to give them some credit. Their best defensive game of the season and also their best offensive game of the season. Kevin Lankinen made some saves when he needed to, but not his sharpest game of the year. How many times have we come on this show and said, oh, the Canucks won, and thank God Kevin Lankinen was at his best. That's the reason they won. They won for maybe the first time this year on a night where their goaltender didn't necessarily have it. And that is something that I think they should be applauded for. Again, you put up 8 goals. That was the most fun game they've had since at least November. Like, it's been a long season, so people forget that we were having some fun in early October. People forget that. I understand. But that was the most fun we've had, certainly since I'd say at least November.
No doubt about it. And not just to beat the Avalanche, but to do it in a way where you're controlling play convincingly, right? Sometimes you beat a team that's better than you and the score says you won, but in reality, you were outplayed for most of the night. Your goalie bailed you out. You maybe got a couple of fortunate bounces offensively and you got by the skin of your teeth. No, this was a game where the Canucks controlled 59% of the expected goals. And whether you want to look at some of those analytics or even just the eye test and watching how the game proceeded, there was a point late in the second where the Avs had 9 shots on goal. The Colorado Avalanche, the best team in the NHL by a mile this year, only 9 shots on goal late in the second period. Like, that's wild. Against this version of the Canucks, unbelievable.
And I know they've had their losses now, but how many months into the season was it that we were talking about the Avs having only lost twice on home ice all season long? Like, that's crazy. That is crazy that this version of the Canucks came back and won. And I think almost more impressive is the fact that they had a 6-2 lead. They blew it. We were all kind of expecting it. There was always in the back of your mind watching that was that, okay, the Avalanche are going to turn it on here and they're going to figure this out. And then with just a few minutes to go, they tie it up and you're kind of thinking, okay, we've seen this version of the Canucks get rattled pretty easily. We've seen goals in bursts against them, especially young defensemen, right? We've seen them get lost. We've seen them start to panic a little bit. And it totally seemed like that was what we were in for when the Avs tied it up. And then Marcus Pettersson comes in, scores his second goal of the season to put the Canucks back on top. Brock Besser adds the empty netter for his 8th career hat trick. So, or seventh career hat trick, excuse me. And I just, again, like, that's probably the most impressive part is that even though they didn't make it pretty in the end, right? Like they did blow a 6-2 lead. They didn't go away. And that's something that, again, in a season where, you know, that win in the grand scheme of things doesn't matter. They're gonna finish 32nd, right? And I think that's also why people can enjoy it so much. But in a season where that's the truth, another truth is that the young players did all right last night. Like, Zeev Buium was on the ice for 4 goals against, but they kept throwing him to the wolves. He played a lot of minutes against Nathan MacKinnon like I said, on the ice for 4 goals against last night, all at 5-on-5. That would be a lot to rattle a young player's confidence, but like, how do you think Zeev Buium's feeling today? probably pretty damn good. And I think that's what you want, is when even when your young players struggle, they're not stapled to the bench en route to another loss. It's, hey, no, get back out there, and you keep your guys going and you keep putting them out there and you get a win as a team. Look, man, I'm not trying to make it into something it's not and make it bigger than it's not. This is still the 32nd place team, but I think there are a lot of positives to take away from that game, aside from just, oh, the Canucks played well. Like there's a lot more, I think, that goes deeper than that.
Yeah, and before we even get to some of the individual storylines and some of those positives, I also just think it's like what a treat it is to see the Colorado Avalanche when they're forced to ramp up into the highest possible gear they can get to offensively, right? Because most times in the regular season, they build early leads and then they just put it in cruise control. It's very rare that the Colorado Avalanche have to erase a multi-goal deficit. And it's the same way that when the Oilers go down 3 goals, for example, how they become one of the most entertaining teams in the NHL because it's just all out attack and you get to see the best players on the planet try to dominate puck possession and score effects and all that kind of stuff. The Avalanche too, it would have been easy for them this late into the season when pretty much the division is already locked up, when the game in the grand scheme of things doesn't mean much to them. Late in the second, you're down 6-2 essentially, to say, you know what, it's not our night, and just go quietly into it. And knowing that you got the playoffs around the corner and some of your best players like McKinnon and Nelson were at the Olympics, so they got those miles on their body. But this is where, whether it's, their pride or just ego or just refusing to let this happen, the Avs again cranked it back up into the highest gear. You saw late in the second period, not just the offense, but McKinnon was throwing his weight around. With some heavy checks. He was angry. He was so pissed off. And it's just so entertaining when a supernova offensive team just enters that all-out attack mode. And I don't even blame the Canucks for blowing that 6-2 lead, because when a team of that caliber turns it on, forget the Vancouver Canucks being able to stop them. I don't think any top-end defensive team can stop them when they're really rolling like that. And especially, I thought a couple of those shots from distance through traffic, Lankinen could have had that. And crucially for me, what stood out as far as the response in the third period was, even when the Avs were applying pressure, the Canucks still found opportunities to counter and generate offensive chances themselves. It wasn't just, hey, we're nursing this lead, we're completely sitting back, and we're stuck defending in our zone for the entire 20-minute stretch. Yeah, the Avs controlled most of the puck possession. They had some terrifying stretches, but the Canucks also had some genuine grade A opportunities that even before Marcus Pettersson scored, they could have easily scored to extend the lead, right? You had Curtis Douglas with a couple of chances, and he had 4 or 5 shots on goal. I thought that was his best game as a Vancouver Canuck. Teddy Bluger, who had a phenomenal evening. He had a great A chance that was set up by Linus Karlsson. You had the 2-on-1 where O'Connor dished it over to Pettersson. He bats it midair just over the net. The Canucks had, even when they were carrying the lead and trying to protect it, they generated looks themselves. And as you said, the resolve to, hey, when Malinsky scored to tie it with about 6 minutes left, to immediately respond and in the next shift, essentially, and for Brock Besser to recognize that, hey, there are 4 Colorado Avalanche players collapsed down low on the sequence. That's a mistake. That means one of my point men are going to be available, and for Marcus Pettersson to recognize that open space and attack the high slot. It's a terrific moment, a feel-good moment in a season that's otherwise been miserable.
Yeah, absolutely. In other news, Cale Makar's Hart Trophy standing has just skyrocketed after that game, right? Has to have. They lose to the Canucks without Cale Makar. A lot of chat about the Nordiques jerseys. I want to talk about that, but I want to talk about just one player that kind of stood out to me as well. Marco Rossi last night, we've highlighted a lot of his work on the power play on that left half wall spot. That was notable again last night on the Jake DeBrusk goal. It was Rossi that drew everybody in, activated down low to pull more Avs players, I almost called them the Nordiques, more Avs players out of position. got the pass across to Elias Pettersson, even though an Avs player got a piece of it. Pettersson snaps it to DeBrusk in front of the net, and DeBrusk doesn't miss from there. But Marco Rossi's work again on the power play stood out. And then even on the there was 8 goals. I can't remember which number goal it was, but there was a play where Rossi kind of wins a board battle against an Avs defenseman much larger than him, spins back after kind of shielding the puck, creates space, finds Brock Besser streaking in. Or no, Verlander streaking in. Thank you. Yes. Verlander streaking in. Verlander holds onto the puck, and he snaps it across to Brock Besser. Brock Besser has a short side one-timer. Nate McKinnon was in that game as well. Short side one-timer. Brock Besser makes no mistake. Buries it past Mackenzie Blackwood. So I just highlighted a few there where I thought Marco Rossi was really good. I really, again, I think it's just another game where we can point out that Marco Rossi was arguably one of the Canucks' best forwards in that game.
Yep, and you can tell that since Rossi's come back from his injury and he's been on that line with Brock Besser, Besser looks rejuvenated, right? He's been clicking at around the point per game rate over the last 20 games or so, hat trick last night. And that goal you mentioned where Rossi wins the battle against the bigger, stronger Avs player, pulls up at the line, it points to something we've discussed before, which is Brock's effectiveness often hinges on his environment and the talent around him, where as the talent around Brock improves, he becomes that much more dangerous because he's a finishing piece, right? One of Brock's best skills is getting open in dangerous areas, reading off of the play, having the IQ to slip off defenders. And even though opposing teams are so hell-bent on taking away backdoor passes in the middle of the ice, Brock still having that high IQ to still get open. The issue is you need the guys to make the plays, because if you get open, you make the great read to get open, but nobody can get you the puck. Well, then no one's going to notice that you got open in the first place. No one's going to give you credit for that. So on that play, it looks like, just a simple backdoor tap in, but it's his knack for getting open. And then for it to actually lead to the goal, it's the help by not only Rossi, but Verlander on that play too, to recognize that, hey, there's an opportunity to jump up in the rush here, and then accept it streaking down the wing, and then to see the pass across as well, the vision to make that play. Really neat sequence for Verlander there. And again, it just goes to show that as the players around Brock improve and he's able to build chemistry with Marco Rossi, he's going to be that much more effective.
I talked about it ahead of the deadline too. The idea of rebuilding a guy like Brock Besser's value instead of panicking and moving him out, rebuilding a guy like Brock Besser's value. I don't know. I don't want to talk about Elias Pettersson. Do you?
Not particularly.
I just think he was unnoticeable, and I don't know. 8 goals. I don't know. I think I've said it already. Like I'm just more and more convinced that it's like, okay, you got to figure something out this offseason because this just isn't working. I don't know. He's put up points. I don't know. I give you the vibes take. And the vibes take is that the vibes aren't good right now. That's all.
Yeah, it's fair. I think with a couple of the other young players, I loved Liam Ogren's deception on that first goal, right? Out battling Nathan McKinnon on the wall, and then pressing down on McKinnon's stick to tie it up, make sure he gets that free possession. And then when he's coming down on the rush, he's coming with speed, and we've highlighted that many times, that when he shakes loose, you're not going to be able to catch him as an opposing team if you turn the puck over in a spot, and he's the one that is in a situation to pounce on it. The way that he sold shot on that play and then made the pass across to Blueger, I believe it was that was chef's kiss, right? That's the type of deception you want to see. And if he's able to make plays like that more consistently, it points to, hey, maybe this guy has a little bit of a higher offensive ceiling than we imagined, because we know at a baseline, his floor is going to be high. With the motor he has, with the speed he has, with the shot he has, if he can add layers of deception and creativity and passes like that to his arsenal as well, then you're talking about the offensive ceiling improving as well. So I love, sure, in that situation, he could have easily shot the puck and would have been justified to do so. I like that he went for the play that was harder to execute, but if you're able to connect on it, leads to the more dangerous outcome, and for him to be successful at that play.
Puck holes in 2.0, but the good version, the Oilers version, anything else from last night's game you want to get to, or do you want to start talking about Quinn Hughes? It's Hughes week, Harm. It's Hughes week.
Really quickly, Bouillon as well. I know he's on the ice for 4 goals against and had some rough moments, but I liked some of the flashes of dynamic plays with the puck as well. On the power play, I think it was the second period, nice edge work to pull off a spinorama and then make a neat pass to Linus Karlsson, just looking confident on that sequence. There was a breakout where he made a head fake as if he was going to make a play through the middle, and then he sprung Sassone, who was streaking down the left wing. Just a beautiful outlet pass, and Sassone had a rush chance where he barely missed the net. Otherwise, that would have been a goal and an assist, obviously, for Bouillon there. And then there was another breakout sequence where a lot of times I've said, hey, Bouillon, when he has room to skate it out, just wheel it by himself, he's already confident in those situations. But when there are multiple forecheckers on you and you can't just, I'm going to sprint out of this small area with the puck, how are you going to problem solve out of that situation? There was one of those in the second period where he sucked multiple Avs forecheckers in toward him and then dished it D to D to Hronek, who now had all sorts of time and space for the clean exit. Just clever, smart plays where it's, okay, I think you're problem solving out of certain areas and situations as well. And yeah, we know he's still got tons of work that he needs to do defensively, but you're at least seeing some of the flashes of what he can do with the puck too.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's get to our next segment, Harm. Our next segment is brought to you by our friends over at Greta, a great spot for all games, home and away. You can skip the line, not to pay cover on game nights if you're wearing the home team's gear. And of course, there's also the game day specials at Greta, including $3.33 off food items, $3.33 for select drinks, and more. With the arcade, bar, and street food menu, Greta is a great spot. Make it your spot to watch the next game. 50 West Cordova Street is the address. Let the games begin. Canucks, Wild, 5 o'clock Pacific time tonight. So head on down to Greta. You get off work, head on down to Greta. Canucks, Wild. It is, of course, the first meeting between the Canucks and ex-captain Quinn Hughes since the Canucks traded him to the Minnesota Wild back in December. We've talked about it. Hughes Week has raged on at Canucks Army. We got a new little wrinkle into it all today because Quinn Hughes spoke pregame, and I also want to get to the exclusive quotes from Thomas Drance over The Athletic. He wrote a great piece. We'll talk. Drance is in St. Paul, right? He must be.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. So we'll get to those quotes after, but I want to get to these ones first because this is what everyone seems to be talking about. Quinn Hughes talked about how it was going to be, a bit weird, but he said it probably wouldn't feel real until puck drop. And then he was asked about, you know what, the clip just does it for itself. Let's just play the clip, Jacob.
I don't know, like how you get so close to these guys and you play them in practice every day. And I don't know, like obviously playing my brothers, that's weird too. And I feel like I'm kind of used to scenarios like this. But yeah, and honestly, I don't really know a lot of their guys. Like, obviously I played with some of the young guys there, but for 3-4 months, a lot of the guys I was there with for the meat of my 6 years aren't there.
Okay. I get what he's saying. Let me start by saying I get what he's saying, right? Because everybody, I saw someone put out a list of the Canucks roster and say Hughes was the captain of 16 of 20 players that are going to play tonight. So the most of those guys, I don't really know them. I get that. But I think what I take more issue with, Harm, is I only played with a lot of those young guys 3-4 months. Okay. Like, so did Connor Garland. And Connor Garland, Max Sassone, we heard about how that relationship flourished. We heard about them rooming together, driving together, all that sort of stuff. It just seemed to me like, obviously he probably would have said something different in hindsight, right? Like I'm sure he wishes he said something different, but to say you don't know most of those guys, I don't know. I see why it's not sitting well with people, but I also understand where he's coming from, if that makes sense.
I think that quote's been taken a little bit out of context because if you listen to the original question, it's a question about, hey, does this you're playing against your former team? Does this mean that when certain Canucks players have the puck, you're going to know their tendencies and you're going to defend accordingly? And the start of that answer is about Quinn starts explaining that, well, you don't want to cheat towards certain plays. And then he mentions that, well, I don't really know a lot of those guys. So that
that's good context.
I don't know a lot of those guys. Part isn't about, like, I didn't really know them as people. The question was about, do you know how well do you know their tendencies?
Well, there you go.
And it was like an on ice. So like, I thought that quote was taken out of context a little bit, personally. And to me, maybe other people's interpretation will be different, but the way I listened to it, because I wanted to see the full clip, I saw that and thought that Quinn was clearly referring to their like on ice tendencies, and it would make sense where he's talking about, I only played with some of these guys for a few months, and from that perspective, it makes sense where it's like, if you've only played with a guy for a few months, you're not going to habitually at game time speed going to know, hey, if this guy's coming at me on the wing, this is the play that this guy's going to look for. And from that perspective, you look through their roster and it's like, yeah, he's played with 16 of the 20 guys, but how many of them has he played with for multiple seasons, which is, I think, how long it takes to know a player's tendencies so well that you can have a specific game plan and like react in NHL game speed form to them, right? You look up and down and it's like, sure, you've played a little bit with Drew O'Connor. It was less than a calendar year, right? You're not going to know all of O'Connor's tendencies. Same thing with guys like Sassone and Carlson and Ratu. And so I think that quote was blown a little bit out of proportion, in my opinion.
I think you're right. And I think that's look at that responsible journalism. Jacob, clip that, because this is going viral. And people need to know the truth. So clip that. That's going to be a clip. That has to be a clip. People need to. I didn't even know that. Like I wrote about the quote, and why did I see a trimmed version of that? Anyway, whatever. Did the Wild cut out the question, or am I tripping?
I don't know. I'm trying to remember where I saw.
Yeah, how did you see it?
I think. One sec. Let's pull it up here. Okay, so the full version is on the Canucks subreddit.
Oh, okay.
By the user Nothing is Perfect. That's where I saw it. It's a 28-second clip. And yeah, it's like when certain the question literally starts, when certain Canucks players get the puck, are you going to know what they're going to do with it?
Dump and chase. But yeah, okay, cool. Okay, good to know. Okay. I think that's important context. I think I honestly we should clip that. We should clip that and put that out there, because everybody's freaking out about it. I'm not pointing fingers, but there's been some publications that are really diving in on that quote. So,
well, this is where. So, a couple of things. Number one, I don't actually dispute fans that are upset with the idea that Quinn towards the last couple months of the season wasn't really all that invested, right? Where he seemed a little bit checked out, a little bit frustrated, and you could kind of tell that he wanted out. And did he make enough of an effort for this season to be all in, not in terms of his on ice effort, but in terms of engaging with some of his younger teammates and all that stuff? There's probably room for improvement. And I think if you ask Quinn about all the body language stuff, probably would have handled some things differently. So I'm not trying to say Quinn was unimpeachable in terms of his exit, the way that he left, and all that fallout, right? So I get that Canucks fans are justified to some degree with some of those complaints, but I really think that was blown out of proportion.
All right.
And my broader point that I wanted to make was the social media era is tough. And this is where, on one hand, we want players to show personality and tell us what they really think and not fall into cliches. But then the second that a player says something that is remotely interesting, it gets spliced up without context. Little snippets start going viral, and then we complain that players talk like robots to the media.
Yeah.
And this isn't just a thing on Quinn. Like, you see this all the time. And like, I think as well, specifically, certain questions get asked, and then and it's clearly a situation where, and I'm not talking about the Quinn Hughes one in this instance, I'm just thinking about other examples, where a reporter asks a player about a specific topic, maybe it's a player on another team or another coach or whatever it is, the player gives an answer, and then the way the tweet is framed makes it seem like the player just wanted to talk about this topic unprompted, right? And there's a big difference between like the context of how questions are asked and the full answer, and I just think a lot of that nuance gets lost in today's social media era, where it's just all about the short clips and all about the headlines, and I think that's unfortunate.
And I mean, you think of the Nate McKinnon one. Remember the you tell me who the better team was today, or I'll let you decide. Remember that?
Like that's perfect example. That was like you listen, you see the full answer, and it's totally reasonable. He's not complaining or moaning about the outcome, and he's right in that Canada outplayed the US. But the small little snippet goes viral, and you see all the comments, and McKinnon's getting destroyed, and it's just I hate that part. So
yeah, absolutely agree.
And this isn't me trying to come to the this isn't me trying to come to the defense of Quinn Hughes, and he did nothing wrong. Like,
it's just honest.
I'm not blaming any Canucks fan. I'm not blaming any Canucks fan if they dislike Quinn Hughes right now and don't have a lot of time for him. I'm not going to get on any kind of high horse and say, oh, you're wrong and you should like Quinn Hughes and look at all that he did for this franchise. Like, that's not the take. If you're going to criticize him for something, I at least want it to be with the full context and full picture of what actually happened and was said.
Yeah, I like that. You know what we call her? We call that honesty and having some integrity. So I like that. Let's go to Thomas Drance. This is what Tom said in The Athletic, or these are the quotes he got from Quinn Hughes. He addressed some of the stuff that you were kind of hoping he would address. Here's some quotes, okay? I'll let you react. Just jump in whenever you want to react, or I'll just keep reading quotes, okay? This is what Hughes said to Tom. I'd see stuff like he doesn't care anymore, Hughes said, bringing up the criticism he's faced from Canucks fans unprompted. But go watch my last game against Buffalo and you tell me that I didn't care. If you want to blame me for overtrying, for overdoing it, then honestly, I'm good with it. A couple of years ago, that sort of stuff would have bothered me, but it doesn't now. I'm the one that looks at myself in the mirror and I'm good with everything I've done. I'm at peace with everything. I know I gave everything I had in Vancouver. Go look at the years prior too, when there was all sorts of nonsense going on. And I know I was always doing everything I could to make sure my game was in a good place and elevating it for the team. I tried to do that again this year. I had a great summer. And it just didn't happen. That's a clump of quotes that I wanted to talk about. And then there's another one, but your reaction to those?
Well, I think he's right in that it did get to the point where I think he looked at how little help he had around him and went, I have to do everything by myself. And that led to points in this season where he's trying to deke through three guys on his own. He's trying to, like, he's on the power play. He didn't seem to trust Pettersson with the puck and wasn't really teeing him up for one-timers at certain points. And Quinn Hughes started forcing shots to the point that, remember how many shots early in the season were getting hit into shin pads and not even getting through? And it led to him having a rough start to the season, right? By his standards, he had a really pedestrian start to the season. He didn't look like the Norris guy that was on top of the world. He looked like a regular top pair defenseman with flaws. And so I think I believe him when he says he believes that he gave everything that he had on the ice. However, there were also the other parts that were a little bit ugly, right? The body language, the stick slam, the frustration, and especially with all the rumors and everybody knowing how much this season meant, like that was a distraction for the team. And so I get Quinn's perspective there, and I don't begrudge him at all for wanting out, right? This idea that he quit on the team when it got hard. Let's be honest. He was here for set parts of 7 seasons. It was hard basically the entire way, except for his rookie campaign and the year they won the division. Everything else was miserable, and most of that was on the franchise. And let's remember, he had 2 co-stars that literally could not get along, right? Imagine you're trying to become the best version of yourself, and you've turned yourself into Norris Trophy defenseman, and you've got your two star centers that can't even get along, and they have such a poor dynamic. They have such a poor relationship that one of them has to be traded. How would that not frustrate the hell out of you, especially with all the dysfunction of the Jim Benning regime and all the other things that have happened? Like, I don't blame Quinn Hughes for wanting to get out of this situation. And yet I also don't blame fans that are upset with how it ended, and especially with all the stuff that happened at the Olympics. And the Hughes family reputation hasn't exactly improved since he left here. Like, I don't blame fans for being a little bit upset and salty about the exit either. Like, I get both sides.
Quinn addressed the not having dinner with his teammates. You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, he addressed this, and he addressed not having didn't have a night to catch up with his old teammates as is customary. That's what he addressed. Excuse me. That's what he addressed in this Drance article. He didn't get to have dinner with his team last night because the Canucks weren't in Minnesota yet till late in the evening because of a back-to-back game. This is what Hughes said. He said, I think it's almost better that way. Like, if I'd had dinner with my former teammates last night, I'd have had to think about it. It would have set in that this is going to be weird. Instead, I'm just jumping into the deep end. And it's not like they're dead. Philip Hronek's getting married this summer, so I'll go see him. Maybe Brock too. I don't know what his plans are, but I'll be there for his wedding too, whenever it is. I'll always have those relationships. Then he went on, and he was asked by Drance, what happened to the team that seemed ascendant in 23-24, and why does this franchise keep getting stuck from a competitive standpoint? That was the question Drance asked, okay? And Hughes said, I obviously have my thoughts on it, but I don't want to point fingers at anyone. I would say that the trade last year with JT Miller, I mean, he was a top 5 player, rattles off Miller's accomplishments. There were nights I'd watch him and just think, this guy is unbelievable. To lose that guy the very next year, that was probably a fracture of everything. And yet on some levels, it felt like you could see it coming for years, I would say. It just didn't work out. Whatever the reason was, I don't really know. We had a great team 2 years ago. I thought Rick did a great job. Adam Foote did a great job. Thatcher Demko being injured hurt big time. Then across 2 years, we lose Zadorov, Lindholm, Miller, me, I guess Garland and Myers too, even Carson Soucy and Dakota Joshua. It's a lot of guys to replace in 2 years. It just didn't happen for us. Looking back at 2024, I think it felt easy that season. Like, I feel like this team in Minnesota is unbelievable, but that team in Vancouver had 50 wins. We're not going to get to 50 wins this season here. It's literally not even possible at this point. It felt in that month of January in 2024 like we were just going to win no matter what. We were just rolling. Even then, I would say it was just always fractured at times.
I think a lot of that points back to the Pettersson-Miller relationship.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
You're winning. You were first place in the NHL that year heading into the All-Star break, and things were still fractured at that time. And look, none of this is a surprise. I've come on here before and told the story of the very first season that JT Miller was on this team, Quinn's rookie year as well. About a month or two into the season, how it already seemed like Pettersson and Miller maybe weren't exactly best of friends, right? And how these issues, it's been widely reported, like Travis Green had to deal with some of these issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Forget about Rick Tocchet and then Bruce Boudreau, and then eventually to Rick Tocchet. The point being, this was going on for years, and I think it just kind of cements. There are a lot of managerial missteps going back to the Jim Benning regime that contributed to the demise of this core and them not really accomplishing anything. But you get into not just the relationship necessitating a trade, but also Pettersson mysteriously falling off from being a 100-point guy to like a 50-point guy, essentially cut in half in terms of his offensive production. And then the Demko part as well. Quinn mentioned it. You had a guy that was second place in Vezina Trophy voting that year. He basically can't stay healthy anymore. Yep. And so you think about basically losing a franchise center in Pettersson in terms of what he was versus where he is now. You lost another point per game center because of the feud and that forcing a trade. And then you lose a Vezina Trophy winner as well. The core around him just kind of collapsed. And then you add all the other dysfunctional things that happened while Quinn was there, and some of the other names that he mentioned departed, and this front office missing out when they went out and got guys like Heinen and Sprong and on and on. It's just a number of these factors together that led to them falling apart. But really, Quinn talking so much about the relationship of that core, like I think a lot of it points back to the core guys around me just weren't able to maximize their ceiling and play up to their potential the way he was.
Yep. And hey, like I've said it before, you gotta move some of those guys out. And they have moved some of them out, but I think you gotta move at least one more. Lots of time to talk about that. There's some good stuff in the chat here. This one from Mike in the Valley. The more I hear Quinn talk, the more the JT Miller versus Horvat trade was the biggest mistake this club made. We've pointed back to that, like we've talked about that before as well, that was a really key moment in this franchise's, last 10 years, right? Is deciding that you're going to move on from Bo Horvat and picking JT Miller as the guy you're keeping around. This is a super chat. It is from Walk. It's for 279. He said, can't wait for Hughes to get booed next season. Now, the schedule isn't out yet, so we don't know when Quinn is going to be returning to Rogers Arena. But yeah, I would assume he gets the Miller treatment where you cheer for the tribute video and you boo him every time he touches the puck. But at this rate, does he get booed during the tribute video? Like, I don't know. I think we're at least in the territory where we can have that conversation.
Yeah, and we'll see if things simmer down over the next number of months. We don't know the schedule for next season, so we don't know, is his return to Rogers Arena going to be really late in the season, which means almost another full year before that happens. Yeah. And at that point, a lot of things can change. And maybe, look, even a year from now, I don't think the sentiment will change that drastically, but is the hate going to calm down enough to where at least during the video tribute, he won't be booed? And for the rest of the game, when he touches the puck, he gets that treatment, possibly. But if it's really early in the season, you're right, man. I don't know what the response and reaction would be.
I'll say this, because we did this over at Canucks Army. It's the final thing of Hughes Week, folks. Hughes Week has come to an end. I'm sorry to all 5 of you that were tuning in and loved it. But we did, should Quinn have his jersey retired one day? We did a roundtable on that. And I wrote about it, and my entry was basically like, begrudgingly, probably yes, but very begrudgingly. And I also pointed out that I'm also saying that because I've seen this before. I've seen this before across multiple sports. All it takes is one really well thought out interview, not asking for forgiveness, but just a well thought interview where Quinn kind of gives his perspective a little bit more, opens up a little bit more, and again, just talks about the situation a little bit more. And like, people hated Bo Horvat not that long ago. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
the better than Vancouver quote? And everybody was like, "Oh my god,
terrible captain."
Yeah, and now, sure, there's still people out there saying those things, but back then it was like a majority of fans were livid with Bo that he could ever say something like that in the heat of the moment. So all I'm saying is, and Bo got cheered, obviously, still does. They don't even boo him when he's here, when he has the puck on his stick. He's no JT Miller. But all I'm saying is that, yes, time heals wounds, heals all wounds. And if Quinn wants to repair the relationship, there's avenues there for him to do that. Like that's a fact. That's just how it works in pro sports. There's absolutely the option for him to do that. All right. I forgot to say our super chats are brought to you by, our charity chat partner this season is the BC Mental Health Foundation. If you want to make sure your question or comment gets on the show, hit us with a super chat. Proceeds from our super chat go to the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange.
Quick thing I wanted to mention. We've spent a lot of time talking about Quinn's first game against the Canucks. The subplot that nobody is really talking about that I'm going to be fascinated to watch is whether we see a Marco Rossi revenge game. Because Michael Russo over at The Athletic covers the Minnesota Wild, does unbelievable work, and the NHL at large. he sat down with all three of Rossi, Bouillon, and Ogren. He had great relationships with all three players and kind of did a catching up with those guys since the trade piece. And it was interesting that for Bouillon and Ogren, neither one of them really had any, not even like dislike or
nothing bad to say.
Nothing bad to say about how the trade went down. And especially I think Bouillon seemed to think it was pretty cool that he got traded for Quinn freaking Hughes. Rossi, that situation went a little bit sour, if you recall, during the playoffs last year, where he scored 60 points, and at that point he was centering Kaprizov basically the entire season, and then he was dropped in round one to the fourth line midway through the first game of the playoffs. And in that Russo article, Rossi had a pretty interesting quote. I thought he went, quote, "Of course it bothers you. In that moment, you're always thinking team first, but I thought I had a really good regular season. I mean, 60 points, and then just after one game, they're making the decision like that. It just showed me they had like no respect for me. I told them, so that was their decision, but that's in the past now." So not to say that Rossi's still got a grudge against the Wild or anything, but he clearly felt that him getting demoted in the playoffs was a lack of respect. I bet you Rossi has a lot of money up on the board tonight, and we know he's been hot lately, 15 points in his last 14 games. I think he's going to be really motivated to stick it to the Wild and have a strong night.
That's future 80-point getter, Marco Rossi. No respect. Seriously. Like, absolutely. I'm glad he said it too. Because that is a lack of respect. And we talked about it at the time when he was on the Wild, right? Like, we were talking about this already.
Yeah. It was, no pun intended, wild that he was demoted so quickly to the fourth line after such a productive regular season.
Yeah. All right. Let's go to Family Feud. Technical producer Jacob Lazar, take it away.
Welcome back to another edition of Canucks Conversation Family Feud. You remember how last week I said, we got some good question submissions from the listeners that were really topical. There are things that we talked about all week on the show, and then we have questions for Family Feud about it. Well, same thing this week. Basically everything that all four of these 5 questions have been topics that have been discussed pretty significantly at some point throughout this week. So it should be a fun Family Feud, but even though you guys have the familiarity, it's still a little bit difficult. I've got the difficulty pegged at Pittsburgh Penguins.
Okay.
So, kind of surprisingly good. Second place in the division, good.
This is the second week in a row we're just doing an analysis of my brain, because last week the theory was that if it's something we've talked about recently, that I'm like quick and I can do, like, I had it with 10 seconds left and I picked out all the right answers. So let's test that theory again. I'll mute up.
All right. Quad's going to mute up. Harmon will go first. He will have 25 seconds on the clock. His time will begin when I finish reading the first question. Harm, if you can't think of a response, say pass. We will come back to it at the end if we have time. You ready to go?
Yep.
All right. Just making sure Quad's. Oh, he's even up out of his chair. So I think we're probably good to get going. All right, Harm. Now, I will warn you here. The first 2 questions are scale of 1 to 10. So if I kind of start stumbling through the question, at least scale of 1 to 10.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is Braden Coots to play 25 games with the Vancouver Canucks next season?
6.
Looking back at the Hughes trade, what would you rank the return on a scale of 1 to 10?
7.
Not including Bure, name a player who had an ugly breakup with the Canucks.
Hughes.
Rounded to the nearest 10, how many starts will Nikita Tolopilo make next season?
20.
Who will win the Norris Trophy this year?
Zach Werenski.
With time to spare, Harmon, great work. There we go. You got to wait for Quads to come back.
I'm glad I don't know how many votes that last one will get, but I spent time on that exact topic for an article So I at least felt ready with an answer.
I think it was a good answer. Yeah.
How'd it go?
We'll see. I felt I gave respectable answers. I don't think I got any answers where it's like, oh, I don't know if I certainly didn't get all the number ones. And I think there's going to be a spread on a lot of these answers to where you're not going to get like 40 points, even if you gave a pretty good response. So I'm curious what the point totals look.
Harm had a pretty good analysis without knowing the data there. 123 points. So I think he did better than he probably thought he did. So Harm with 123, that means Quads need 77. You're going to have 30 seconds on the clock. Your time will begin when I finish reading the first question. If you give one of Harmon's answers, you will hear the buzzer. There we go. And I will ask you to try again. If you can't think of a response, say pass. We will come back to it at the end. Last thing, first two questions are both scale out of 1 to 10. 1 being the lowest, 10 being the highest.
Okay, thank you.
Ready to go?
Yeah. Wait, how many number ones did he get?
I'm not going to tell you that.
Okay, let's go.
Tell you that after.
Sure.
So you know what? I think I've been telling you in the past.
I don't care. It's okay. Whatever. It works.
He got 3 number ones.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. All right. Your time will begin when I finish reading the first question.
Okay.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is Braden Coots to play 25 games with the Vancouver Canucks next season?
5.
Looking back at the Hughes trade now, what would you rank the return on a scale of 1 to 10?
8.
Not including Bure, name a player who had an ugly breakup with the Canucks.
Miller.
Rounded to the nearest 10, how many starts will Nikita Tolopilo make next season?
Oh, 20?
Try again.
10.
Who will win the Norris Trophy this year?
Kilmacar.
With time to spare, good work.
Yeah, we won.
Solid. That was solid.
Yep.
I feel good about our chances.
Yeah, no, we won for sure.
All right. On a scale of 1 to 10, how likely is Coots to play 25 games with Vancouver next season? Now, I specified Vancouver very explicitly because he will be eligible to play for the Abbotsford Canucks with the new rule allowing a 19-year-old from the CHL to go to the American League. But 25 games with the big club, 7 was the number 1 answer. Harm, you said 6. That was the number 4 answer. Quads, you said 8. That was the number 2 answer. But everything was very close. Quads, you got 18 points. Harmon got 15. Number 1 answer is only worth 20.
All right. This is so unlike me. I did not say 8. I said 5.
Oh, you said 5?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh,
it's so unlike me to have some.
Yeah.
Sorry. You said 8. You said 8 for the next question.
Yeah, I said 5 for this question.
It makes very little difference. You go from 18 points to 16 points. So
see,
it's
kids,
like
honest
do the right
Quads.
thing. Do the right thing.
Yeah.
Be honest. I always live by that. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, that's one question where the spread was tight. I remember I checked the data, I think before the show yesterday. And at that time, when we had about 75 responses, 6, 7, 8 all had the exact same number of responses, which was pretty crazy. Okay, now for the Hughes trade, this one, Quads, is where you said 8, correct? Just making sure.
Yeah.
So that was the number 2 answer. Harm, you gave the number 1 answer of 7. Harm got 34. Quads, you got 32 points.
Sweet.
That brings you guys up to 171, meaning you only need 29 the rest of the way. Not including Bure, name a player who had an ugly breakup with the Canucks. We just spent the last 25 minutes talking about this. Quinn Hughes, which was Harm's answer, is the number 4 answer, only 8 points for Hughes.
Oh, wow.
What?
Which
I thought for sure that
based on the and this is a weird one where it's like the data doesn't really line up with the chat, because the chat, I'm sure the way they have been talking about it for the past 2 months would make me think he'd absolutely be the number 1.
I literally didn't say Hughes because I was like, Harmon probably already said that.
Which was correct, but that wasn't the number 1 answer. You said JT Miller. That was number 3 answer, worth 16 points. Do you have any idea who number 1 and 2
Luongo?
are? Luongo's number 2.
Well, I guess that was not so much about the exit. That was the tenure.
Kessler?
Kessler was the number 1 answer.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that was pretty ugly. But I thought it wasn't as topical. It wasn't as like recent and fresh. So,
and who wants to talk about Ryan Kessler ever again? Miller. I said Miller. What did that get me?
Got you 16 points. He was the number 3 answer.
All right, that's cool.
Excuse me. Todd Bertuzzi actually tied with Quinn Hughes for number 4, by the way. Now, that one, again, wasn't specifically the exit. He was just in the Luongo trade. I think it was what led up to that point, obviously.
Yeah.
Round to the nearest 10. How many starts will Nikita Tolopilo make next year? Harm, you got the number 1 answer with 20. Quads, you dropped down to 10, correct?
Yeah.
Well, the good news there is you guys extend the winning streak. That was the number 2 answer, worth 31 points. Harmon got 35 on that question. So great work. Those were the 2 big answers. Everything else was a lot lower. We'll quickly go over the last question now, which was the Norris Trophy. Harm, you got the number 1 answer. Werenski, 31 points. Excuse me. So yes, you were a little worried that the survey wouldn't agree with you. They absolutely did. Zach Werenski, the favorite amongst Canucks Combo listeners to win the Norris. Quads, you said Makar. That was the number 2 answer with 29. You guys get to 247. It's a blowout win. You guys win 5-1, start to finish, dominant victory. Where do you guys think Quinn Hughes fell on this this question, by the way?
Like 6th.
Tied for 4th. Tied with Rasmus Dahlin with 9 points, behind Evan Bouchard, which
That's crazy.
should tell you everything.
I don't
you
even
need to know.
think that's necessarily wrong. I'm doing
you're
a defenseman
right.
story, and since early November, Bouchard's been playing at a 106-point pace.
Yeah.
It's crazy, and a lot of people will rightfully say, well, he gets to play with McDavid, but I looked at the splits this morning where Bouchard's on-ice goals for rate in non-Connor McDavid minutes is still like 3.3 per hour, which is still a really high rate. So he's driving offense even in non-McDavid minutes. And I know the first few weeks of his season were rough, but since then, like even watching the Oilers play, when we talk about their defensive struggles, it's usually Wallman or Nurse that's at the center of these breakdowns. Not as many for Bouchard and Ekholm lately.
Big Milk definitely said that too when he was on the show. I got to pay more attention.
Also, Mike Kelly had an interesting thing where he pointed out, like, Bouchard has this reputation as, and to be clear, I'm not saying I'm going to have Bouchard 1 or 2 on my ballot necessarily. Werenski's clearly going to be my number 1 at this point. But Bouchard has this reputation as when he makes the big mistake, it looks so bad, right? We've all seen the high clips. And Mike Kelly, he has access to proprietary data. He actually looked at how many turnovers has Bouchard made that lead to scoring chances against and directly lead to goals against, and how does that compare to the other top defensemen that are in this Norris conversation? Bouchard's turnover rates were basically the same as all the other top D, and in fact, his turnovers relative to puck possession were actually really good, meaning, yeah, he has some turnovers, but it's because he possesses the puck all the time. So I thought that was interesting evidence to counteract the idea that, yeah, especially early in the season, like, make no mistake, first few weeks were really rough, but since then he's been absolutely on one, and that includes him cleaning up his defensive play and not really turning the puck over much.
All right, let's get to anyone else. Let's do it. Let's get to anyone else, which is a presentation of our friends at Pacific Toyota Dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid, a no-compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. Drive up 72 kilometers on battery alone, enough to get you from downtown to the rink, the grocery store, and home to recharge. Seamlessly transition from electric mode to the gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. There's no sacrifices when it comes to horsepower style with its sleek, low, and wide exterior and sophisticated interior. It's loaded with tech that's actually easy to use. Plug in to recharge at home or at one of the over 2,000 public charging stations in BC alone. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer during Red Tag days from March through May. All right. Anything you wanted to get to? Because mostly, honestly, it was funny. I kind of went out of order. I was going to save all the Hughes stuff for anyone else, but I don't really have much for anyone else, to be honest. I had a couple.
Yeah, I've got a quick thing here. We've had multiple people in the chat asking about that Norris Trophy one. I'm just going to read you the entire list, 1 through, I guess, 8. Okay. Yeah, I think 8, just because multiple people have asked. 1 was Werenski, 2 was Makar, 3 was Bouchard, tied for 4th was Hughes and Dahlin, 6th was Schaefer. 7th was Lane Hudson. 8th was Radish. 9th was Chikrin. So there you go. Now I don't have to respond to 4 different people in the chat.
I had a couple prospect updates courtesy of Dave Hall over at Canucks Army. Parker Alkos and the Kelowna Rockets become the first team to advance to the second round of the WHL playoffs, so that's something to keep an eye on. And Alexei Medvedev, I've kept quiet all season long because he's had a bit of a rough year, admittedly. Everybody doubting Alexei, to saying, "Oh my gosh, wow, I can't believe what a bad season. He's lost the crease in London. Oh boy." He keeps the London Knights playoffs hopes alive with a win in his playoff debut, in his OHL playoff debut. Who gives a crap about the regular season? Playoffs is what matters. He was really good in that game. You can go read more about it over at CanucksArmy.com. 18 years old, must-win situation, and they turned to Medvedev. Obviously, they listened to this show and heard about the two, 3 Vezina trophies in his future.
That's still one of my favorite predictions.
Thank you. Me too.
2 to 3 Vezinas.
I was talking to Carl from Canucks PR at Dev Camp last year, and Carl, great guy. Carl's awesome. At Dev Camp last year, and Carl knows puck. Okay, like Carl knew who Medvedev was before they drafted him, and Carl and I were talking at Dev Camp. And he's like, "Yeah, you must be pretty excited about Medvedev." And I was like, "Yeah, I am. I'm trying to temper my expectations from like first ballot Hall of Famer to could be a good NHL starter." But I love Medvedev, man. I think he's got a really bright future. I do. So anyway, I just had to wait for a really good storyline and a really solid start for me to come talk about him again, because it's been weird. I haven't been able to talk about him when he's had such a down year. But again, there's still raw tools there. Like, in all seriousness, there's still a lot of raw tools, and it was going to take some refinement. You didn't want to see him struggle, obviously, in London, but it's not like like people are like, "Oh, has your opinion changed on Medvedev because of the year he had?" It's like, no, not really. Like, not really, not at all, actually. So anyway,
2 to 3 Vezinas is crazy though, because Roberto Luongo never won a Vezina.
Yeah, but Luongo was in the golden age of goaltenders. There's no good
he deserved the Vezina.
Anymore. Yeah. There's no good goaltenders anymore. Hot take. Like, when Medvedev's in the league, Hellebuck's not going to be winning Vezina trophies anymore. Who else is there? Oh boy, here comes Jeremy Swayman. No.
Well, we talked about how terrible save percentages have been in the league this year, and we watched what happened last night between the Canucks and Avalanche. So maybe you have a point. How many Vezinas do you think Patrick Waugh won? Quads?
4.
He only won 3. So Medvedev, in your prediction, is going to equal Patrick Waugh,
or be one less. I said 2 to 3.
Okay,
yeah, 2 to 3.
That's fair enough. 2 to 3.
Dude, I'm not a homer. Man, do you guys ever just like look at a guy like Patrick Waugh's Hockey DB or Hockey Reference page?
I have it open right now. It's so
and you're
crazy.
Just like, that is a level of dominance. Especially, that's the thing, is like, even years where he had a 907, it's like, okay, so what was second place in the league? Like what was he like compared to his peers? And it is it is wild. It is seriously.
He led the league with a 900 save percentage in 1988. He led the league 3 years in a row. In his last season at 37 years old in 02-03, he was 4th in Vezina voting, 12th in Hart voting. And he's like, "No, yeah, I'm good. I just won 35 games. I had," how many shutouts did he have that season? He had multiple shutouts that season. He's like, "Yeah, I'm good. 5 shutouts. Yeah. 5 shutouts, a 920 save percentage, 4th in Vezina voting." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm good. I'm going to hang him up." He's
Baller.
the pretty spectacular career that he had. But when you look, with the exception of the very first time he played in the NHL, he played 1 game at 19 years old. Get rid of that row on his Hockey Reference. He has something in the awards column for every year of his career, except for the lockout shortened 94-95 season. And then the season, the season from which he got traded from Montreal to Colorado. So get rid of the half season and the season where he got traded, and he was in the awards column discussion every single year of his career. Pretty crazy.
Ken Dryden, there's another one that's fun to look at. You just go look at the Ken Dryden page. Silo in the chat said, can we get an update on the Askarov versus Tolopilo predictions and bets, debates, whatever you want to call them?
Oh yeah, no wonder why Adam Foote wasn't playing Nikita Tolopilo. He was worried about your bet and quad and you being wrong with Tolopilo's save percentage. He saw the Seattle game and went, if I keep rolling Tolopilo out there, there's no chance Tolopilo is going to finish with a higher save percentage than Askarov. I think that
I know what you're doing. I know you're doing a little bit here. You know Askarov has a higher save percentage right now, right?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay.
I do. Well, that most recent start where Tolopilo got lit up solidified it. Yeah. But before then, Tolopilo was marginally higher
all year. Yeah, we're talking about like the two most mid goaltenders in the league.
I know.
We should update people. Askarov's got an 8.87. Tolopilo's got an 8.86.
An 8.87. That's what gets it done. That's elite goaltending.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, that's
you can rely on that.
Yeah.
Hey, they're all big saves. Yeah, it's not always all about the numbers.
Oh man,
he gets extra style points for looking cool too.
Okay, I don't know if that's true, but okay, I'll let you have.
Come on, is it not entertaining actually watching him?
No, I hate it. I hate watching someone besmirch the position like that. I've told you this before.
No, see, I feel like today's NHL goaltenders, I get it. They're so technically refined, and in a perfect world as a goaltender, you're just letting the puck hit you. It's all about positioning, and I get it, right? That's the optimal way to play. But I like watching a guy like Askarov that doesn't have any of that nailed down and it is relying on pure athleticism and pure vibes and diving all across the crease and making all these acrobatic saves. Like, I love that stuff.
He can't keep getting away with this. That's all I'll say. He can't keep getting away with this.
In all seriousness, he's been pretty poo since like after the first month of the season. It's kind of all been downhill for him.
Yeah. But hey, it's been downhill for Tolopilo lately too, so I might have to eat that one. That's okay. That's all right. All right. Anything else from either of you?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay. Last night I took Canucks money line and that hit. So I'm feeling.
You forgot something.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, go on. Tankathon. I'm actually liking Tankathon these days, so go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, I know. Tankathon. We'll go quick today, as we're already a little over time. So no preamble. We're just gonna jump right in and sim the lottery. Tough one. Canucks drop to 3. St. Louis moves up to first. Chicago holds at number 2. St. Louis, who 6-2-2 in their last 10, trying to make a little late season push, but in this case, it doesn't harm their lottery odds as they have just, or doesn't harm their lottery results as they win our simulation.
All right. Harm. How you feeling about the Canucks tonight? Tolopilo's in net. Tolopilo's in net. You feeling good?
You
gonna give me a go Canucks go?
No chance.
No chance? All right. Well, Canucks are plus 325 underdogs against the Wild. Wild are minus 425 favorites. Those look real similar to last night, but I don't think the Canucks are winning this game. Like I had the feeling yesterday. I want to have the feeling, but I can't force the feeling. And I don't think the Canucks are winning this game. I don't think they're going to beat the Wild tonight. I hate to say it, but looking around the league, the Seattle Kraken are playing host to the Utah Mammoth. They are home underdogs. You can get Kraken money line at plus 120 odds over at Bet365. That's our bet of the day. And if you're tired of waiting for the end of the game to get paid, you're ready to move on to the next puck drop, Bet365, an official partner of the NHL, has 3-goal early payout. If the team you're riding goes up 3 goals at any point in the game, they'll pay your bet out early. Hockey moves fast, and now with 3-goal early payout, there's one less thing you have to wait around for. Bet365, download the app and see what early payout's all about. Must be 19 or older. Please play responsibly. You would have got the early payout yesterday, 5-2. When the Canucks went up 5-2, you would have got the early payout in that game against Colorado. So even if Colorado had come back, you still would have got your payout if you were following what I threw out there yesterday. So that was a lot of fun. We will close it out there. We'll be back tomorrow, folks. No show Monday. We'll just say that now. Get that out of the way. No show Monday for Easter, but we will be back tomorrow. We'll close it out there. For my co-host Harmon Dial and our technical producer Jacob Lazar, my name is Dave Ugrelli. Thanks so much for the episode of Canucks Conversation.
Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.